Hey guys, how's it going? It's December 16th, Monday. It's been about a month since I made one of these the last time. But here I am. Still alive, haven't blown up yet. And figured I should get back to doing these. I stopped for a little while because I ended up getting really sick and I just kind of got out of the loop, out of the habit of doing them. And I mean, this isn't really something I'm like too crazy about doing, to be honest with you. It's really just a self-improvement thing, and so I can go back and check these out in the future to see what kind of mistakes I've made or what kind of progress I've made as well. So, but anyways, regardless, I'm back. We're gonna do another one of these today. We've had a lot of action in the market today, and that kind of prompted me to try and like get back into it, give it another try. So yeah, I'll still post more of these and sporadically, maybe even do them every day again. Who knows? Kind of depends on how action proceeds. But yeah, have not blown up yet since last month. Up a couple of R's since last month. I'm not exactly sure how many. Probably probably double digits R's since last time. I should check. It's probably somewhere right around the double digit mark. Anyways, yeah, I guess we can go over what happened. We had a lot of long action today in the market across the board, and my goodness, there are so many weird sector plays that are happening right now. Um, I can't remember if MSTR happened after or before the last time I did a video, and there was that, and then quantum sector picked up, and I think uh I think quantum sector was after. Maybe it was like right around when I did it. Anyways, so quantum sector is still going crazy. We have we currently have drone sector, especially with the news over the weekend, still making moves, and we've had a bunch of other like weird election related plays or like Elon space related plays, like the one I'm going to discuss today, are like sort of soft swan we had. So yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on. Unfortunately, not too much that's been really clean. At least not in the last like 2 weeks or so. So it's been a little bit tricky. Like I'm not sold on, like, I've never been through small caps through December before. And looking at last year, there was a lot of weird stuff going on around December, but I'm not like sold on if we're going to see some long-term shift in the price action or if this is just a pre-Christmas thing. Anyways, whatever the case is, I've been taking less ops, I'd say, these last few weeks, just because there's always been there's always just been something like that hasn't been quite right with a lot of the tickers, even when they present themselves with good price action. And even in hindsight, like, it's not like I'm missing out on anything, honestly. Like, I look back at the tickers that I haven't taken trades on, and they aren't even good trades. Like, it's not like I'm making bad decisions or I'm being too picky in the moment. Like I'll often be like, oh, the float's too high. You'll see TNXP today. I'll discuss that, and like the float was too high, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm not gonna take the trade, and then it was a good thing I didn't take the trade. Like, we've had a lot of those kinds of situations. So whatever the case is, still finding good ops every now and then. Unfortunately, not a lot of midday runners, and they're something I tend to do very well with. But um, I've been finding gap plays, even a couple longs here and there, stuff that works. And yeah, so yeah, let me get into these tickers today. So yeah, we have a lot of sector plays going on, and almost everything that is gapping right now is in, like, outside of biotech, is in some way, shape, or form associated with some viral trend that we have going on right now. So yeah, we'll start off with the gap with the big gappers, and I guess we'll jump on over here and take a look at WBUY, which was probably the only one that didn't do anything terribly crazy today. This guy just kind of took a drop off open for the only 100% plus gapper. I don't trade the drop off open, so I had like no business touching this thing. So yeah, you know what? Hold on just a second. I'm gonna connect my Weeble account so I got the trading view data. Hold on just a moment. TradingView doesn't as this like free data package by default, and it doesn't include all the data. I don't want to have to open up my DAS terminal either. It's going to be easier to just do this. Ta-da! Now we got like not weird choppy volume anymore. Anyways, so WBUY, nothing there. Just want to briefly mention this because it was the only 100% plus gapper we had, and that probably contributed to the fact that it was the only gapper that really faded hard. I think like NMHI did as well, but like I mean we had a couple of small ones fading off as well. So I guess I'll hop right on over to TNXP, and just because this one was kind of interesting. This thing was like a 20% gap. It was it's like this one 25% down here, and they were running on, if I'm correct, this was recycled phase 3 news is what they had here. They said this whatever could offer hope of pain relief, whatever, and then the only like the major selling point in here is in the recent Resilient phase 1 trial or phase 3 trial, of which they've actually already had mentions of it in some past PRs. Like I think they even used the same wording, yeah, like phase 3 Resilient study over here back over a month ago. So this was somewhat recycled, and but I was intrigued by this play because well, it, like I said, it wasn't sector play related, it was just biotech, and we got pretty heavy, we got pretty strong right out of the open. Didn't end up touching this long side, tried to actually at first because it was holding up, and didn't really manage to get into it, and started to become interested like over here, and ultimately decided not to trade this at all, like hard stop. And the thing that brought me to that conclusion was we have a 190-ish million float on this thing, which if you've seen some of my other videos, I might have mentioned in the past how I'll trade stuff that has a higher float but still has low float price action. And I think I have even actually traded TNXP in the past. However, when I'll make that kind of distinction, usually it's like a 125 million float. We're talking like almost 200 million on this stock, which is pretty damn high. And my expectation when we have something that has that high of a float is that even if we do start to make an overextended, almost capitulatory play like this right here, we can continue going higher, and we do this into another leg. And I was kind of interested in shorting here. This was the only place where I was like really interested in shorting, this area up here, and I almost took it. If I had taken it, I probably would have ended up taking a BE stop over here, something like that, but I did not end up touching this, and this thing ended up grinding upwards for basically the rest of the day. It's going to be kind of interesting to see where this thing ends up tomorrow, because it's still up a bunch. In fact, we got a bit of an ask wall going on over here. It's 59 cents, I guess, in the after hours. Beyond just this, a lot of the moves that's made lately have also been bullish, and like various other days. Like this isn't really what you'd see from something that is going to consistently behave like a small cap. Like we got too many days of like persistent buying here. Like in like a real like good small cap mover, we're not going to have small green days. It's just like I should see more of more of something like this where it's like procedurally down sort of. We have like there's like steady buyers on this stock every now and then, and that's not really too great for something that you want to play the short side, especially with this high of a float. So I ended up deciding against it, and I am certainly happy with that decision, because any and all shorts that I would have taken on this thing would have resulted in break even or a loss. So, and it is still going up right now. So yeah, nothing to do on this thing, but this was one of the two really big runners we had today. Before I get into the other one, which is where I did take some trades, we can take a look real quick at probably LAES and WKEY. Yeah, we'll do LAES first. So LAES had about a 50% gap this morning, and LAES is actually a multi-day. This thing has been pushing for multiple days now, and this thing actually this thing doesn't want to go down. We're actually over here. It had a private placement, I believe, or something, offering a private placement, and somehow we're still up, and they finally did it in over here, but very unusual move. This was sector related, if I recall correctly. This thing is, they got these they got all the names. They got semis in here. They got post quantum technology, and yeah, so they're probably running a little bit on that. And the price action hasn't been too great on this stock on any of the days. It's been targets for like third day searches and day two continuations kind of thing, because we have this like really choppy price action over here, something like this, and then you go like day up, stays really high near the highs, squeezes out, third day search kind of thing. And this was the first day where we had some like decent action. I was tempted to actually take a long on this today, believe it or not, despite how much we're up, because I expect for liquidity at pre-market high to get taken out, and we didn't really quite make it there. We found some sellers at 295, and I was watching it over here. I was like, I had my finger on the trigger to like see some kind of high day push and an instant rejection, but we didn't end up getting there. So I didn't end up trading it over here, and then we're going sideways for such a long time, and I'm like, maybe there's a long here. So I had this trend line drawn. It's looking maybe like longs in this area. We dip below the trend line, and I said, screw this. I'm not interested anymore. When something dips below a trend line like this, usually it's kaput, like completely done for the day. Although we reclaimed here. We also reclaimed on SIDU on its early morning trend line too, funny enough. And both of them ended up running. They ended up both squeezing through the pre-market high. So I didn't end up taking any long on this stock. I was tempted to potentially take a short here, but there just wasn't enough overextension on this play. We didn't like get into an illegal price area really. Like if you use these two highs right here, this is probably the most conservative, these two highs for an upper side trend line. This candle didn't get far above the trend. This is kind of like the equivalent of saying like we didn't get far above the upper Bollinger Band. So I was not really too keen on shorting this thing here. And I was basically maxed out as well anyways on SIDU right around this point in time. I had a lot of money on SIDU. So I didn't want to take a dubious short like this. It really wasn't too interesting, and you can see it didn't really end up getting us anywhere anyways. So I didn't end up touching this thing at all, aside from a single long that I took over here. I was looking at, I think my original bracket was, did I get in before this? I think I got in down here. I was looking at a bracket like this kind of, and let me pull it up, of course. Here we go. Yeah, looking for high day squeeze and continuation, of course. Didn't end up working out too great. I took a pretty nasty exit, as you can see there. Only half size on longs here, so I took a very, very small loss. This was like 0.2 R or something like that. But no, actually even less, like maybe like 0.1 or something. And yeah, just no money on this one. I was expecting a much stronger squeeze through high day here. Usually when we get this many tests like this, I'm expecting shorts to get squeezed at every single one of these levels. And it was looking all right at first, and we just couldn't hold it. And this stock does have a higher float, I believe. We're at 55 million, so it's a little bit tougher for this stock to squeeze. Not really an ideal situation for something like that. So I wasn't going to give it too much try. We also didn't have a very high volume on this either. So it was more of a like, if this works, it works. Probably a pretty low risk play. This stock hasn't been knifing too much so far, and it didn't end up working out. I wasn't keen on holding on to this for some grindy move that may or may not happen. And as you can see here, we did end up putting in an extra leg, and then that's really where it just kind of floundered out, and we didn't get any more action out of this thing. So I'm not really upset at the fact that I covered there. There wasn't obviously a whole lot of meat on the bone to take anyways. So what is kind of frustrating is not capturing this first move through pre-market high. But like I said, this kind of this thing where we dip under a trend line like this and reclaim it and continue higher, I haven't actually seen that too often. I have seen it before, I think the one that comes to mind is the one that we had on Foxo, which I actually think I even have a recording mentioned of how this day was notable in my mind. It is further back. Let's go. What day was this? November 11th. Go to which one of these? What was the very first day of the move? So I think this is the last time I saw it. Ironically, also a time when we ended up squeezing pretty hard. When we had this trend line here, basically, we go under it, and we got back up over here, and then once we reclaimed the trend line, we squeezed out. Yeah, I guess you could also have you could draw something like this. Maybe I don't know. It's an iffy one. I wouldn't draw this trend line. Something like this, or like this right here. Yeah, one way or another, there was some kind of reclaim that happened here, and I haven't seen these very often. I don't have any data for this. In fact, usually when we have a trend line break, like for this right here, I think I was even shooting myself in the foot for like not shorting this. I was like, damn, I should have shorted this kind of thing. And yeah. But fast forward back to LAES, we did get the break, of course, and then it reclaimed, and not really a great opportunity to short on this one, honestly, because we ended up pushing higher before we ended up breaking down. But yeah, this was certainly strange, and some people may argue, it's like, oh, it's like a trend line, it's not super precise, maybe you should have drawn it like this or something, and to that I say sometimes that is the case where it's just improperly drawn trend line. I've been in that situation many times, but in this case, not really so much. We have too many lower highs here that are perfectly lined up. This was clearly a breakdown, an attempted breakdown that just did not work out. And then we reclaim and go higher. And yeah, I don't have data for this, so I'm not really upset about it, and it is what it is. Going back over here, I guess we can cover WKEY. WKEY was all the way at the bottom of the gap list, but I just want to briefly mention it just so we know where we're at, because this thing may show up again. WKEY popped like Friday morning off of this really like sketchy news that they were going to be doing something with SpaceX. I believe they're associated with SIDU too. That's funny. They what the hell was it? What was the actual headline? Let me give it to you here. Satellite launch with SpaceX on January 14th, blah blah blah, right? And but this was oh, they actually did have this at 9:35. The headline, I remember when I first saw it, wasn't released everywhere at the exact same time, and I would have actually longed it over here. This was a retroactive ad on Stock Titan, but you're gonna just have to take my word for that, because when we saw this start to go up, I was scrambling to try and find a PR headline for this thing, and there was like nothing anywhere for why WKEY was going up. And if I had read this headline, I would have longed this thing, because this is like a trendy this is a trendy headline. It's a real headline too. So yeah, I didn't end up taking any advantage of the long side, and I was not keen on longing up here. I know some people did eventually end up capitalizing on this and grab the gap. I did not. I didn't like how dilutive it was up here, or at least how people were selling into this move. Didn't find any long, left it be. Come today, we ended up gapping up and continuing to move higher again. And I couldn't get any locates for this thing, actually, but I was going to take a short over here. This would have ended up being a break-even trade as we squeezed higher, so I'm not too upset about missing this one. And after that, nothing else was tempting on this. It did not want to overextend at all. Seems like this company's really got something going for it now, that it's hooked on some viral headline, so we're still holding gains. I guess, does this thing have the potential to drop an offering? They do not actually do some kind of private placement. They've got nothing. None of these are registered. So basically no dilution opportunity on this stock. At least no nothing on dilution tracker. There may be something else, like some kind of like a loan program or something in the filings. I'm not going to go look into it right here while I'm making this video, but yeah, so we might end up seeing this guy again. Almost took a trade on it, didn't end up making or losing any money, so that is what it is. And last but not least, we have the king of the day, SIDU, who decided to do a little swan move, up all day, and I tried to get in on this thing pretty early on, and yeah, I'm gonna go into detail on this one too. So all right, so starting off, the news on this stock. This stock was no news. It was sort of up on a YouTuber's video, Moon Market. They made a video of it over the weekend, saying about how it's a great pick, and to their credit, they actually did have a decent thesis for why this is going to make a big move, because of the move that WKEY had made. And WKEY is actually invested in SIDU, believe it or not, SIDUs. And like WKEY, they are actually also scheduled to have a product launch with a SpaceX rocket sometime in December or January. So it kind of justified a move on this, but I don't really think that Moon Market, with his 175K subscribers or something like that, is going to generate this kind of volume. So there was probably a manipulator at play here, but combine a manipulator with long retail interest, and you get the possible swan. And on top of that, this thing had a relatively low float and like not a lot of dilution either. We had 9.7 million, some priced offerings. Yeah, we've got some warrants and convertible preferreds, and I don't know exactly what the limitations are on these, but there were some limitations on them. As for the actual price action, I was not keen on being long heavy on this at any point in time during the day. The idea of, I didn't personally think the WKEY news was deserving of anything more than a pop, and we're multi-days in. Same thing with Sidus. I was not expecting more than maybe a pop, especially considering thinking about the fact that a lot of volume may be contributed by retail longs. This wasn't potentially a heavily manipulated stock, although there was a manipulator present, clearly. Yeah, so into the actual price action, we ended up dipping down near the open. We set up a small trend line here, like this, and this is what I'm saying, like we had on LAES, where we broke trend and we broke higher again. I could have considered taking a long over here as we broke this tiny little swing high. I will long below pre-market high if we break the opening volume like we did here, but I did not take this trade. I think I don't know. I think I was busy looking at something else while this was happening, and I wasn't convinced that this would be a great play anyways. I was interested in taking a trade over here in this area. The problem was, once we broke the trend line, my thesis in my mind is kind of invalidated. I'm game to see this reclaim, but then we need to put in like some kind of like swing high over here. Then I'll take a trade. I'm not going to just long as we print a big candle into pre-market high. I'm not going to do that. There's just way too much knife risk. So didn't end up getting any opportunity there. But like right here, right before we broke trend, I was like, if this breaks, I'm taking it long. I was ready for that, and didn't end up happening. And it was a recurring trend actually on this stock that I just couldn't manage to put a long in until like the end of the day, and that's how I made most of my money today. So yeah, we end up going up, and just like for perspective here, like based on what's on the screen right now, I'd say like this up to this point, this is not abnormal long or abnormal like small cap behavior. This is within the realm of what we could see from any old ticker. Once we put in this leg over here higher, now we're in the realm of like big move, possible swan in the long term. And not too much overextension here, not too much capitulatory action. So I didn't end up taking any short here. I wasn't really looking for it. But as we put in the next leg, I was. And putting in this leg here, like this is, for like 1, 2, 3 legs, is either long-term swan or like a real juicy short setup. So like SNTI kind of did this as well. I believe SNTI did this earlier in the day, mind you. Juicy short setup. HEWB did this juicy short setup. VSIG did it as well, juicy short setup. So I was keen on shorting up here. I had an average like I think my average was like it was a 383 or something like that, very high average. And I wanted to hold this until we got to VWAP. And what we ended up actually doing is we ended up going sideways for quite a while. Held through most of this, although we put in so many tops up here, it was only a matter of time before we squeezed higher. So I had an easy opportunity to take a BE exit on this, which is a real shame. I was sized in pretty heavy on this thing, and I was looking for a big bag. I think I left like over 10R, like from here down to just low. I think I was up over 10R on the position. Like it was a crazy, crazy heavy position, but I did not take it off. I was really, really adamant that we were going to make it to VWAP if this was going to be a winner. And I think that that was the appropriate way of approaching this. So yeah. Anyways, so we ended up going sideways here. And in hindsight, I think that there was a really good long play here. I'm always talking about how you want to see a knife get placed before a long entry, a knife through a major level. And the fact that this red candle here ended up tapping the same price as this and it ended up going over this on decent volume makes this a really good long through all of these levels, breaking into hive day. But I did not take this because I was so concerned about my short getting stopped out. I didn't even think about reversing my position. I really didn't. So, which is a mistake on my part. There's not too many opportunities out there where it's very rare for me to have to reverse position where I close a short and then open a long right after. And I wasn't entirely prepared for that. Very rare that that'll happen. So, but I'll keep it in mind in the future. So that's another, and we ended up going higher. And so this was another leg I ended up missing on this thing to the long side, which is a shame because like, again, I didn't know this was, even at this point, I didn't know this was going to keep going higher necessarily, but like, I can see how like these moves higher have been like squeeze type moves, and squeeze type moves you're able to predict if you know where the shorts are getting in and getting out of their positions. And so I was hitting myself. I was like hitting my head against my desk, like getting annoyed that I didn't end up taking these. I did end up longing over here actually because we placed another knife and engulf it, and you'll see in a second I ended up covering the position over here because I said to myself with a low float, if this thing did want to rip, then it would rip like right away, clearing a knife like this on this kind of elevated volume. And we did end up going anyways, but we put in this like sideways action for like 4 candles here, and I cut the position because I was so keen on believing that we were going to go back down. And to be honest with you, I think that was, I don't think that was a bad assessment. This thing really, like with the volume it was doing at this time, with the 10 million float, like this thing was good. This thing had the capacity to make a big up move. And the fact that we did manage to go sideways for 4 candles here, I don't really know what to make of it. I'm not super upset with the cover, like I said. I mean, it's definitely something I'm going to need to remember about and look into in the future. But for now, I'm not too concerned about it. I also had a pretty wide bracket on this too because my stop was all the way down here, and that wouldn't have yielded much, especially with my half-size longs. So, yeah, so I ended up missing this leg again. And I'm not shorting up here. We're not really overextended up here too much. We kind of tap back and forth a little bit, and we go sideways yet again. And this time we're up like, we got like basically one push higher, like two pushes, three pushes. We got like multiple pushes higher at this point. And like around here, I'm starting to get the like the swan vibes, the this is gonna just keep going higher, and like it's gonna go higher until it goes parabolic kind of vibes. So um so I decided to take a stab long again. Still seeing a B on the day, mind you. This is like 2:30 in the afternoon almost, and I still haven't taken any profitable trades. Um, so the first long I took, I believe, was like right off of this, or maybe it was, no, it was right off this one here. It was off of this one here, and I was thinking squeeze higher through this, and we get this unclean price action again, where we break this high and we dip down, and I end up taking it off here again. We continue going lower, and we do this sweep here, this big green sweep, and I'm not going to call this an ape in necessarily, but like I was fed up of missing the longs on this, and I knew that this thing had to go parabolic if it was going to take a dive for the rest of the day. So when we had this green liquidity grab reclaim, I longed into it. I just longed right into it. Same size as I had just taken off. And this time we go higher immediately, and I ended up getting a decent bag off of actually I took off, I tried to take off some here, put it back on as we continue going higher, and I took it all off up here, which ended up being very close to the high of day. Let me pull out the executions now. There we go. So this was the short I took. Stopped out over here above these highs. Saw this knife get put in, saw the reclaim, took it long, ended up taking it off over here because of the consolidation, as you can see. Over here, take a long into this. We fail off of the high of day, so I end up taking it off. And then we green knife in, and I put the long back in. Take it off a little, took off a little bit here, thinking we may top out, and we didn't, so I re-added it. And then took it all off up here. I also took a little short scalp here. This would have been a great short to hold on to, as you can see as well. And I was pretty convinced that this was going to be high day as well. Like this was actually a pretty decent short, but I don't take shorts this late in the day. So I was like, so my idea was, I knew this was going to see an impulse on the break. So I literally just went to the level 2. I was like, where the heck is this level? Found the level, shorted off the level as we broke down, scalp the impulse, and that's all I did because I wasn't going to hold for this. And I don't take shorts this late in the day, as I said, so I was just treating this as like a one-off scalp. Got like half an R on it or something like that. And this long here ended up being the meat of my profits. It was like 4.2 R or something like that, which is pretty crazy considering it was a half size long. So yeah. And I will take that. That ended up being my entire day. And yeah, there wasn't, I don't see, I think most of the opportunity that this stock presented, I was aware of in like some way, shape, or form. Couple notes with this thing is like, we had a lot of moves that didn't really get overextended much. Like this is really the first time in the entire stock's history where you got super overextended. This short here, a little bit overextended, not very. If I go over here, you can see we only basically have one green candle that's able to make it above the previous upper trend line. And this one green candle, of course, is why I took the short here. But this is like the only time when you could concretely make a claim that the stock is overextended above the trend line. Over here on this first leg, we don't really have a reference point for this first leg here, and that's why I didn't take a short up here. The only reference we had was like maybe down here. It's like something like that, I don't know. And this isn't extended above the trend line, so I didn't have any trade here. And over here we kind of did. Depends on where you drew the line from. Like if you drew it from over here, we started tipping out a little bit higher, and I wasn't keen on taking a short into this, but when we went sideways for this many candles and we saw buy ups down here off of bid support, this was just asking to get broken down. So like this was such an easy ass like like breakdown short. Although, I mean, I feel kind of bad about not taking it now, but I don't take shorts this late in the day. The last hour and a half, it's a no go for me, especially because a lot of shorts will start to cover into that hour, or they'll start to like walk away and not participate anymore. So yeah, kind of frustrating that I didn't end up milking this. This was actually probably this was really the only good short that this thing yielded all day long. Funny enough, so and looks like we're kind of crawling up in after hours. It'll be interesting to see if this thing gaps up tomorrow. But yeah, that's about it today. There's a lot of bigger ops in the market right now too, and I'll be looking out if I see anything like that. I'll post about it. There's like Rigetti and Soundhound. Um, maybe like Ion Q may do something. A lot of the like all the quantum stocks doing something right now. Um, with MSTR being possibly added to the Nasdaq, we may see something interesting there too. And more drone and space sector stuff as well. Who knows? All sorts of weird opportunities could present themselves right now. So yeah, I'll be on the lookout, and hopefully we get some decent short opportunities or overextensions at some point in this week, so I can get a bag that doesn't feel like I'm just like grasping for straws with like random longs. So yeah, in the meantime, that's about it.